Yeah,
right.
it's fine.
All right.
I know when I did my dissertation, I did all my interviews by Zoom, and if it wasn't for the recording,
Yeah.
and
'Cause-
it does a transcript for you too.
oh,
If
really?
you if
Oh,
you select it when you schedule the Zoom, it'll do the transcript for you too.
perfect. It's very helpful. All right.
Yeah,
So can you see this?
I can.
All right. So let me do this. So this is our project. It's called Reading to Learn. We have our logo there. Here are all of our team members. They're running a little late, I think, because we just got
Yeah,
out.
we just got from school from our mock trial practice, so there's some traffic.
It's okay.
So they
It's
should be
okay.
here in like 5 or 10 minutes, but I'll just get started. Um, so here are all of our names. I'm Enzo. That's Jabraj. So when they join, this is what they'll look like.
Aw.
This is us. So pretty much as I said, so we're a group of 10th grade students, and we have to find a problem and come up with a policy to solve it. So the problem that we noticed, and I'll go into more in the next slide, is that the literacy rates are declining a lot in Miami-Dade County public schools, at least in the past 5 years. And this is really heavy for the third grade students because as the research shows, and as we've seen, um, most of the researchers and a lot of these people involved with language arts state that third grade is the year where we switch from learning to read to reading to learn, which is where we got our in all our interviews with teacher, they all said the same thing, that that's the crucial year for students. And Dr. Gutierrez gave us your information. She said that you were in charge of the Head Start program and the Utah Elementary, so we thought that would be a really great avenue for us to explore. So here are the stats that we're basing this off. Here's this graph for the statewide testing. It's changed from the FSA to the FAST, but the score reports are pretty much displayed here. As we see, the percentage of students passing, which is from a 3 to 5, has gone down about 10% in 5 years. The percentage of students failing has gone up that 10%. So last year we saw about 50% of third grade students failing, which is a lot.
That's
And
a lot.
yeah, it shouldn't be that way. So that's why we're trying to find a way that we can solve this. And the issue with third grade isn't just that it's crucial for learning, but it's also crucial for their futures. In fact, this article, which will show the source in the next slide, shows that 16% of students that aren't reading by grade level in third grade will not graduate high school on time. And with Miami, we have a lot poverty, unfortunately. We have a lot of Hispanic students that do suffer from this trouble learning how to read. And this statistic is even higher for them. It's even worse. In fact, it's 3 times more likely that they drop out if they're not reading proficiently by third grade. We have those stats there. So that's just really unfortunate, and we're trying to work to fix that. So those numbers come from that article here, Double Jeopardy. It was published by the City University of New York. There's a lot of research on this issue in New York, and we noticed that this issue is just as prevalent and just as important here in Miami from the numbers that we've found here. And the trend is pretty general that literacy rates are declining for every grade. It's a little less for the higher grades, but especially in elementary, these students are just going down and down, and that's a loss because language arts is one of the most important things that we can try and teach these students because it's present not only in the English classes, but we need to learn how to read for all of our classes and for our future. So here we have a quick survey, which we'll get into at the end. So now that we kind of introduced the topic, we're wondering if we could kind of hear your perspective, your side of things. Maybe just how you would go about solving this, what your thoughts are on the issue. So just anything you'd like to say would be appreciated.
Yeah, so I've been teaching since 2010, and I did resource K through 5, so I'm a special ed teacher first, just like Dr. Gutierrez. And then I became a pre-K teacher. I was doing pre-K special ed, and now I'm in Head Start, which is, I don't know if you guys know, Head Start services students who are underprivileged. You have to be 200% under the poverty level to qualify. We are in a predominantly African American neighborhood. Now we're having a small influx of Hispanic and Russian students.
Okay.
So we're finding a lot of problems with ESOL, with English language learning, and we're seeing since COVID, the behaviors have increased, the Attention skills have decreased. And like this year, our FAST assessment, we just finished the mid-year FAST assessment last week. And 47% of my students are passing. I have about 53% who are in intervention and severe intervention phases.
Wow.
I've never had that mid-year. We've always been about 80% already passing. So it's a significant delay this year. These kids that I have right now were either born at the beginning of COVID or right before. So they really did suffer being home those 3 years. We have a lot of problems with the parents are disconnected as well.
Yeah.
So it's been very difficult. So right now, what we did, Head Start is bringing in an interventionist that's going to start on the 26th to see if they can start doing targeted interventions with that 53% of students that are below. But I have about 6 out of my 20 who are in the process of referrals for special ed.
Wow.
What do I think can be done about it? I think it needs to start at home. There needs to be a lot of interventions with teaching parents. I think there needs to be more support for families to be able to support their kids. I know down in Homestead, there's a large population of Hispanic families where their culture is that the teachers are the bosses, not the parents. So they don't really do much at home, not out of disrespect because they don't want to teach the kids, but because it's a teacher's job and they respect that. So it's a cultural difference. So you see a lot of issues down south as well. So I think it's just teaching the families how they can help their kids early. Because a lot of like my students are having problems with discrimination of sounds. So you hear a doorbell ring, you know it's a doorbell. You hear a dog bark, you know it's a dog, right? That's the beginning of phonological awareness. That's your beginning of being able to identify letter sounds and then later being able to sound out those words. It helps you with decoding. It helps you identify later how to read the word. So all of that starts with the most basic things is being able to discriminate a sound. And a lot of my students can't do that. So we're doing basic things like I ring a bell in a bag and I'm like, what did you hear? And they're like, oh, it's a bell. Or I squeeze a toy that makes it like a barking sound. And I'm like, what was that? So we're trying to like play games that makes it fun, but just to teach them to be more discriminatory auditorily.
Yeah.
Which is it's hard when all they're used to is the devices and
Yeah.
let me play with the phone. Let me watch TV. I'm like, no, just give them a crayon. A
Yeah.
lot of motor issues. Kids don't know how to hold a crayon anymore. So it's been a drastic change since COVID started.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you mentioned Head Start and the poverty line.
Mhm.
Do you think there's a way, and the intervention methods as well, they're being implemented? Do you think there's a way that maybe for the students that are maybe a little more affluent, maybe in the higher economic standing, that are still struggling, and maybe their parents have enough money to not be in the Head Start criteria, but don't have enough to hire a private tutor? How do you think we could address the issue with those students that are still falling to the decline in literacy rates?
I think there should be interventions. I know that a lot of elementary schools have interventionists on campus, but the problem is that you're pulling the kid out of class. So they're missing a lot of the fun stuff, like the music and the art, and you still need that. You
Yeah.
really need, like they're missing recess, and you shouldn't really take them away from all that. I think there should be some sort of program where you're implementing interventions after school, but not charging the families for it.
Mhm.
Because that's where the crux of the problem is. Even if you are more affluent, my kids went to Kendall Elementary, and we still had a lot of families that could not afford to do after school care.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that much back then. Now it's astronomical. So I think being able to provide that tutoring and making it widely known and that it's free, I think a lot of parents would take more advantage of that. At least if there was a government grant or some policy that would allow that would allow the funding for that.
Absolutely. That's a great idea for the policy because we hadn't thought of that. We didn't even know that these interventions were happening, especially these targeted specialized interventions. And like for these interventions, what specifically would the teachers be doing with students? Like would they go?
It would usually be an interventionist. So like right now I'm doing the interventions because I don't have one yet. So I would like I'm pre-K. So when my kids are playing, like their work time is what it's called, their 1 hour of free play, I'm at the table with a handful of kids that I know need certain things, and I'm working one-on-one or in a very small group, maybe 2 or 3. The interventionist would do the same thing. She would test, or he, because we have a guy coming in, he would test the students, see where they're at based on phonological awareness, what's necessary, where are they struggling, is it comprehension? And then they would create a targeted intervention that's for each individual child that needs it. Not everybody will need it. So then the ones who are ahead, I usually try to keep them ahead. So I'll do little things here or there for enhancement.
Okay. 'Cause
But
the
in the elementary school system, the interventionists pull them out.
okay. So what you're suggesting is that maybe we do the interventions outside of school, or maybe at a time that wouldn't interrupt with like the time that they need for playing and for actually growing as children.
Yeah, and not even for a long time, because I know I work at a school that's an ETO school. I don't know if you know what that is.
No. Can you explain, please?
Okay, so they would have to score a D or an F on, you know, the school scores that you're in an A school or you're in a B school. All right, schools that score D's or F's because of where we're located, which is primarily what it is, they would have an extra department come in from downtown who basically puts all the teachers on scripted, like you can't do whatever you want. You have to do exactly what they say because this is what they feel is going to get those kids up, right? So we're in an ETO school where they have added for our big kids, for kindergarten through 5th grade, an
Mhm.
extra hour of school.
Mm.
So if everyone gets out at 1:50 for elementary, they get out at 3:10. If everyone gets out at, 3 o'clock, they get out at 4 something. So they add an extra, and I think it's overkill. Like you're exhausted by that time. So maybe half an hour, just enough to get it in, and then let them go home and be kids,
Yeah, like short and sweet, but get
Yeah. Yeah, get to the point. Don't sit there for an hour. They're exhausted, you're exhausted. So just my rant.
yeah, that's really good. Thank you so much. Another policy that Dr. Gutierrez really was big on was a summer intervention program, similar to what you explained. Uh,
Mhm.
she had done research with FIU, and the numbers were really positive for that one. So we just wanted to know what your thoughts were on a summer program for these students who are really suffering with the summer reading losses.
I think, well, so for, again, I'm a special ed teacher primarily, so I know some of our students get extended school year. So
Mhm.
it's included already in they get 4 weeks in the summer where they go. I'm an ETO school, so our kids automatically get those 4 weeks.
Okay.
But I think but then the problem is we got off of ETO last year, so now we're a C school and we lost all services. So there's no more interventions at the kindergarten through the 5th grade level, not Head Start. There's no more extended school year. There's no more summer. So I think that causes a lot of problems. We see so many kids over the summer who, when they come back, they have slid, like they lost a lot of what they had because they weren't keeping up on it. I completely think that an extended summer, like school for the summer, would be great for a lot of kids. Not just kids who are failing, but kids who are showing a need for that, especially with reading. Because you need reading for everything. You
Yeah,
need it for science, you need it for math, you need it for social studies.
absolutely. So do you think there might be an issue with the way the county is offering these services to only,
Yes,
lower economic
yes,
schools, low ranked? So do you
yeah.
think accessibility is really a big issue with this?
I think disability, and I think the kids who don't really have a disability, they just didn't have enough instruction.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, I see a lot of kids now who are coming in, and Head Start is primarily there to give them that head start, right? To help them keep up with kindergarten kids when they go to school. But what we're seeing is such a delay. They're already so delayed
Yeah.
that can you really catch up? I don't know. So that's why I think for them to continue in the summer, if they show a need, even if you're basing it off of fast scores, if you score a 2 or a 1, yeah, you should be in the summer program.
Yeah. So there's
If your reading level is not on grade level, you should be in a summer program. Completely. I agree with that.
there's kind of an issue in like how accessible these services are and really in how much they help the students, because not every student that needs it is getting it.
Yeah. And I think that because not every student who's struggling to read is a poor student. It's not somebody who's a Head Start eligible person. You see kids in affluent schools who are struggling to read, undiagnosed dyslexia, other issues like that. So yeah, I think it should be available for all schools,
I saw
not just low income schools.
you mentioned dyslexia, and we actually had a meeting with Daniel Barreras, who is
Mhm.
one of the chairs of the Children's Trust, and she works for the grade level reading campaign. And we had a meeting with her,
Mhm.
really big on dyslexia, and especially dyslexia screenings in pre-K and kindergarten to make sure that these students are actually getting the help that they need if they do have the disability. Because she mentioned that it was a spectrum similar to autism and those other disorders, and that a lot of
Mhm.
people realize this, and that they only notice it very severely, but there's some specific cases of dyslexia that just go unnoticed or undiagnosed. So
We see it so often. We see it so often. And because I'm a SPED teacher, is how I taught it. You don't have to be SPED to be Head Start. So
yeah,
I think it's really helped me. We every couple of years, we have several students with symptoms of dyslexia who are showing things that we're like, yeah, we need to have that checked out.
so do you think maybe a holistic dyslexia screening in these earlier years would be beneficial and maybe
I think it would be great for everybody as a screening. Yes.
okay? Yeah, because part of our project is coming up with these alternative policies that could also help. So
Hmm.
we're really in between the dyslexia screenings, just overall more implementation of the programs, the summer reading programs. And now that you mentioned the intervention programs, that's also really great. So I think this is really helping us to try and develop that final policy, which kind of includes everything and focuses on the most important points so we can help these students. Because
Yeah.
at least what I've noticed, the reason we chose is because we know a lot of people that, just had kids after COVID, and they're saying that like they're struggling so much to read. And when we actually looked at the numbers and we saw everything, it was pretty concerning how much they've dipped. Because 10%, it's not a huge number, but when you think of how many students are in these
Students are indeed. Yeah.
huge.
It's a huge number. Yeah.
And especially since we have such a diverse community and we have so many different students coming from such beautiful ethnic backgrounds that might really struggle with English and they're just not getting the help that they deserve. So I think it's great that you mentioned the intervention program because that's something we hadn't considered. It would be really helpful. So is there anything else you'd like to add to like the whole topic of conversation? Any any specific causes apart from COVID that you think we really should work to target?
Um, no, I think reading is a big one. And I think it's just COVID just changed the playing field. But I think the problem was from long before COVID.
Yeah.
Like the whole reading issue, we've had struggling. And again, it's like you said, once you fall 2 grades behind, 3 grades behind, it gets so hard. And we stopped teaching phonics instructions after we start teach after 3rd grade. That's it. You either know it or you don't.
Yeah.
And I think that there should be something where they are still having a class for students
Hmm.
who are struggling with that, and they go back to teaching those because if you don't have that base, you're not going to read. It's going to be impossible.
Yeah. So we've been collecting data from the community through a survey, and we're wondering if
Mhm.
you wanted to fill it out.
Yeah.
All right, we'll put it in the link in the chat. Where it is. There we go. All right. So here's a link to it. It's pretty general questions. It's just to see and kind of gauge the community's opinion on this issue. If they think it's relevant, if they think we need to come up with a solution. So if you want to fill it out, that'd be a great help to us. And if you could share it to as many people as you think would be willing to fill it out, that'd also be a really big help because we need
Okay.
now we're at like 70 responses and our goal is to hit like 150 just for it to be a little more,
What
significant.
grade levels are you looking for?
Um, any grade level is appreciated. We have a column there for you to put. So the way it goes is like if you know a student, um, if you're a parent or a child, and then you like choose the grade level, and then from there, you can fill out the questions. It's mostly geared towards.
Okay, so you can fill it out as a parent too.
Yeah. It's mostly geared towards
Okay.
adults. Sorry, I didn't mention that. It's just for us to see if like the adults in the community and teachers and things like that actually think
Okay.
it's an issue. Because
Yeah, I can
part of
share it for you.
thank you so much. And we also have an Instagram page. Let me share where we're kind of if you want to follow along with what we're doing in our progress. Here
Yeah.
at the page where we post pretty much our meetings, new statistics, and hopefully now that we've interviewed a few more teachers and we've actually started to get a pretty solid case for a problem, we can start meeting with legislators and school board members. So definitely keep the updates on the Instagram. So that's our handle. It's at Reading to Learn 2024. And we're planning on starting a YouTube channel to post our interviews. So we're wondering if you'd be okay with this being posted. If not, it's totally
Yeah.
perfect.
It's fine.
So this is our Instagram page. And just feel free to follow it if you'd like. It'd be a great help. So I think, at least from our side, that's it. We don't have a lot more because we started working on this maybe a month ago. If there's anything else you'd like to add, by all means, please. But if not, then thank you so much for all your help. It's been
Yeah, I would just love to follow up and see how what you guys came up with. It would be great.
perfect. All right. Thank you so
All
much.
right. No, thank you.
Have a great
Have a
day.
good night. Bye.
Bye.